Hey team, how's it going? I want to cover just one last aspect of this model, this idea of assisted and last click conversions in the model comparison tool, because I think it's really important to not waste your time on this. You're going to find it immensely frustrating, just like everybody else does, and I think that's just like a really poor use of time. But I want to walk through it just so you understand why. And what I did right now, as always, I'm in the Google Analytics demo account. By default, it selects all of these conversions to be lumped together. Part of the reason why this report sucks is because it does that. So really what we're talking about is like, we're comparing the model of conversions, and some of them are SMART goals, some of them are people who enter the checkout, some of them complete the purchase, some of them are, it's just a mess. So for this purpose, let's just look at transactions. You can follow along with me in the same account by looking at this date range, or expect slightly different data if you're looking at different date range. But yeah, so this is what we're looking at. Now, really, like an attribution model is what this should be called. It's under the attribution tab, but I feel like it's not properly named. I think it used to be attribution model comparison back in like 2013. And what this does is it kind of measures, and you can see in this little, like, it's actually a beautifully designed little graphic. This is what an attribution model is. An attribution model essentially says, like, where are we going to give all of the credit? At what point in the conversion path, at what point does somebody come to our website, and then we give that channel or that source or that medium credit for the conversion. And in this case, again, it's transactions. So in the last interaction model, essentially what it does is says like, okay, none of the stuff in the beginning really matters, and so we have right now. None of the spend counts, none of these things count. The only thing that counts is the conversions from the last interaction. And if you watch the last video, that means the channel or the source medium, and which I'll use right now because I prefer that view. This is what's getting all of the credit. And if you watched before in the top conversion paths report, this is always the last source medium in the top conversion paths report. So nothing really matters until they get to that last click. In some cases that helps, because if you're only doing remarketing, or if you only have like certain end of funnel activity, I understand it, but you're also not giving credit to any of that middle of funnel, top of funnel activity that you might be doing. So it's really tough. Last non-direct click is the same thing, except it removes direct none from the report. So as you can see, direct none is gone. Direct none is a catch-all. I've written a blog post about it. I'll try and link it below. But direct none is a catch-all, so it can be messy. However, you know, with social sharing, like people texting links to each other, Google not being able to capture everything because of HTTP and HTTPS, all these things, of course, email, all of these things are kind of like dark. You may or may not find it useful. The last AdWords click is the same thing, except it gives credit to that last AdWords click. So this is not particularly useful. I've only just seen that people actually use this. I'm still trying to figure it out. First interaction is a lot different. This is actually the model that a lot of CRMs use. HubSpot uses this as well. So this gives all of the credit towards the first touch point that a user came in on. So if a lot of people did come in on direct, if a lot of people came in on Google Organic, if you have a lot of informational articles, it's going to be a lot of search. If you have a really high social, like engaged social community, or you get a lot of your people coming in through social first, that'll have a lot of the credit here. But again, it just gives credit to the first channel, the first interaction, the first referral, the first touch point. Of course, that's not an impression. Linear is really interesting. I really like it because I like the idea that like it's equally important to get people at the top of the funnel. It's equally important to bring people back in the middle of the funnel, and then it's equally important to have people finally convert in that last touch point. I think that this is good for some people, but it's also ridiculously hard to track, again, because of all these dark places in the middle of the funnel. Your mileage may vary on this one. Time decay is interesting because essentially it means that, you know, those first couple clicks where most people don't come back to your site, those don't count as much towards this model, and what counts more is the further they get down in the funnel. So I really like this one in theory. I think the unfortunate part is that, you know, direct none playing such a big role in it, it makes it really hard, really hard. And you'll notice that all of these are changing here. So the time decay conversion value, the CPA is changing only for cost per click because you have to upload data for them to understand how much spend you spent in these other channels. So if you pay a writer, it might go in Google Organic. And lastly, position based. I think this one is kind of like archaic, first and last, get most of the credit or all of the credit. And honestly, I don't think you should use this. You can create custom models. I would not spend any time on this. Usually the people I work with are mid to late stage startups, like people who have raised Series A into Series B or are launching a new product. And even they don't really need this. Like, I think this is all overkill. And as you can tell by probably all the shit that I just dumped on you, they're like 7 models plus custom ones. It's not worth your time to do this. I really think that like what you should look at is like the KPIs for each individual channel. A lot of companies I work with set OKRs. They set KPIs within those, and those key results and key performance indicators become the success drivers. So if you're a transactional website, if you're a SaaS service, it might be that your top and middle funnel is not looked at as transaction driven. Maybe it's lead driven. Maybe it's registration driven. Maybe it's something else. Maybe you want them to get on the email list and then get them cycling through your content. Maybe you want to get them to a social platform and then cycling through your content. Ultimately, I think that these models are fundamentally broken and very myopic because they only count the things that are happening on your site. It doesn't count any interactions you have offline. It doesn't count what you can't track. So to me, these are broken. I would actually recommend not using them. I hardly ever look at this tool except if apparently I'm making videos for YouTube. I hope that's helpful. Let me know if you have any questions. If you have a dissenting opinion, if you think that I'm just an idiot, let me know. I'd love to hear it, and I'd love to learn more about it. Thanks.